Welcome to Winging It. So this is an offshoot of the regular show, Birds of a Feather. This happens on the off weeks, the in-between weeks. So again, as we say every time, they're never going to have to go another week without us. And again, there's no reason you should want to. And in fact, every time you listen to either Birds of a Feather or Winging It, it should make you want to hear more. And we're hoping that's what today does as well. And today, we are going to talk about something you have no idea. You have no idea what we're going to talk about.
No idea.
You never, ever know.
Hermetically sealed envelope? No
Correct.
idea.
Exactly. And the winner is...
What does hermetically mean exactly?
I'm not exactly, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Johnny Carson used to say
that's
that.
Another show. Yeah. That's a whole different show. All right. And the envelope, please. Oh, you know what it is this week? Greatest title tracks ever.
Oh, nice.
Right? So, and this is courtesy of NPR Music.
Oh.
So, I looked at a lot of different lists for this, and I really, really liked how well-balanced NPR's was. So, I went with NPR's. So, I looked at a lot. This is not a culmination like it typically is. This is just NPR's, and I thought it was great. In no particular order, because I didn't appreciate their order. I didn't like their order.
They had an order? No.
They had an order. I didn't like it. No. Yeah, I disagreed.
So arbitrary.
It seemed like it, and I thought, you don't know what you're talking about. So here are some, and I cannot wait to hear what you think. And I do believe that you know every single one of these, as I do. So
that
ready?
Would be a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
Oh, I know, right? Both of us. Crazy. So the first one is, again, in no particular order, American Idiot, Green Day.
Absolutely. It's a great song, and isn't that the name of their Broadway show, too?
Yes.
Yes, American Idiot. I have my differences with them in some levels, but as a band, absolutely not. They're great, and this is good punk. I mean, there's bullshit punk out there,
this
like Blink-182, Bowling for Soup. There's a lot of crap punk out there.
Those two always get your wrath.
They do.
Every fucking time we talk about punk, those two, you kick and you throw under the bus, and you roll that bus backward and forward a few times.
I'm telling you, I just
You're
get
out.
I want it to be known. Green Day, however, Green Day always satisfies. Green Day is
so good.
Just, I mean, and it isn't just punk. They do terrific stuff like, well, Good Riddance is one. Mm-hmm. Boulevard of Broken Dreams. Green Day is just a great band. American Idiot is a kick-ass title cut. Good choice. Yeah,
it really is, and they really have an uncanny ability to write punk that's accessible and that feels almost pop. But it's not. It still has the punk cred and the integrity.
Well, the best punk is very popular. Look at the Ramones. Look at the Ramones.
Come on.
The Ramones didn't get the the mainstream airplay that Green Day gets,
True.
But today they probably would because they're just as poppy. I mean, they started out doing a lot of covers of old rock and roll classics and everything, just amping them up. And Green Day is in the same vein, and I love them both. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So that's number one. Not number one, but that's the first one. Blue, Joni Mitchell.
Ah, well, big love for Joni Mitchell. She has, as everybody knows, so many different incarnations and phases and periods and everything. The jazzy stuff, wasn't Jaco Pastorius playing with her for a while there? I'm not really that into it. It's a little too avant-garde. I like the more fluid and song-like Joni, the pop and folky Joni, the For the Roses and Court and Spark. I love that stuff. Blue is a good title track, but it's, I don't know. It's good. It's a little disjointed. I wouldn't rank it as one of my favorite title tracks, but it's a good tune. I mean, Joni's always worth listening to. But this particular period, not so much, actually. But yeah, okay. I get they put it on there. It's NPR, after all.
I get it, too. Yeah. And I like Joni Mitchell. She's very quirky. She got a quirky voice, and she's kind of got her own way of doing things. And while I appreciate that, I'm not in love with everything she does. And this is a lovely track. It's fine. It's just it's not among my favorite Joni tracks, as you mentioned. So
right, no.
But I understand that this is an iconic album, and people just go to pieces about it. So it makes sense that it's on this list. Well, it wouldn't be on my list. I understand why it's kind of a classic.
I don't know why everything that has blue in the title is an iconic album. It's like Blue, Miles Davis kind of blue.
Oh, that's
we
could
do an album called Blue Balls and it'd probably be really popular. I don't know.
Let's try it.
Let's try it. Okay.
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the South Park people haven't done an album called Blue Balls yet. All right, so the next one, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, The Beatles.
Well, what are you going to say? Come on. I mean, I don't care. This is one of those ones that people kick against just because they're tired of hearing about it because it's like supposed to be. It is not probably my favorite Beatles album. It's usually one or two down the list. There are a couple more I prefer ahead of it. But that said, it's a classic. It's a masterpiece. And the way it begins off, not only is it the title cut, but it's the first cut.
Right.
I mean, it kicks off just with a good, strong, rocking beat and nice guitars and, the horns and singable chorus. I mean, great way to kick off an album, and I love Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The reprise is nice too, but this is the way you start a record, and leading into With a Little Help from My Friends is just genius. So yes, absolutely big fist in the air for Sgt. Pepper.
And he literally put his fist in the air.
Yeah, you can't see
literally,
this.
I can see it, so I feel it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
This is definitely on my list as well. Absolutely, it's classic, it's iconic, it's a great title track off of a great album. And again, whether or not you think it's their best album, it doesn't matter. It's an amazing track on an amazing album.
My favorite Beatles album changes every single time I listen through.
Right.
There's like 2 or 3 that end up in the top spot every time I listen to the Beatles-a-thon.
I get it. Okay, The Sound of Silence, electric version, Simon and Garfunkel.
I'm sorry, did you say electric version? What the hell is an electric version?
It's a specific version of that song, and they were very specific. It's not the actual Sound of Silence. It's Sound of Silence electric version that made this. Now, I would pick the regular version, not the electric version. But either way, the Sound of Silence off of Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence is amazing. It's one of my favorite tracks in the world.
Absolutely. And the story goes, and you know how these things are, that you hear these things and it turns out that they're not true, and we find ourselves having made some bullshit statement and editing it out before the show comes on. But the story goes that Paul Simon just wanted to do it straight, just him and Garfunkel and everything, and then the producer's like, no, let's throw some drums in here, which of course makes the song.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, without the drums propelling it, the song would not be nearly as powerful and dramatic as it is. And he supposedly kicked against that. And it's one of those cases where I think if that's so, if it's a true story, that the artist got it wrong, just like the Beatles when they didn't want Phil Spector's strings and choirs on Let It Be, the album.
Yeah.
But the song is just beyond brilliant. I love Simon and Garfunkel. And Paul Simon's just a spectacular songwriter, and I don't think Garfunkel gets his due either. He doesn't write the songs, but
that voice.
Him and Paul Simon
and those together magic.
When they're together and his lead vocals, I mean, hey, folks, he sings Bridge Over Troubled Water. So,
and song.
So together they are just magic. In fact, I just bought a new Simon & Garfunkel collection. It's sitting behind you at this moment.
Oh, excellent.
They're extraordinary. And that is a killer title track. Great choice. Good old NPR. Go for it.
I know. They've got it. They got it going on. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John.
Oh, when are you going to come down? When are you going to land? That is, there might be a teeny tiny bit of what might pass for filler on that classic double album. But
I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Elton John filter, I'm fine with.
Yeah, I do not skip when I listen to that record.
No.
I've had that since it came out in every imaginable medium, and it's just such a brilliant album all around. A masterpiece of composition by Elton and Bernie Taupin, and it's a great title cut. Great
it really is.
Narrative storytelling, great musicianship, great production, vocals. And I wonder, because of course, as the audience knows, she just springs these things on me at the last minute. Right. I wonder if I had a day or so to think of that, I probably would have come up with at least 2 of these last 3.
You would have, I agree.
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, because it's an album I've had my whole life. So excellent NPR. Nice. So what else have you got in store?
Well, Lust for Life, Iggy Pop.
I just recently reacquired this one too. I'm worth $1 million in prizes. I love the Ig. I love him to death. And interestingly, Elton John is an enormous fan of Iggy Pop. Now, we think of Iggy Pop as a legend, but let's face it, he's not the huge star that Elton John is.
Of course not. But...
And Elton John says, I simply do not understand why this man is not a huge star, because he's so brilliant. He's such a brilliant songwriter. He's such a brilliant... Everything he does is... I love what he says. I just look at myself in the mirror and go, hey, you're a really interesting guy. Well, he is, And the title of the song suits the song perfectly.
It does.
It brims with life. It bristles, whatever the hell the word is I'm looking for, with life. I hope we're out in a club someday and that son of a bitch comes on, because I'm going to go off, because it's just a great, life-affirming, happy, buoyant, joyous song, and absolutely love it. Great choice.
I will say one of the things about Iggy Pop, even though he doesn't have the, same level of acclaim and stardom as, Elton John, he really has more of a cult following. And for me, sometimes that's almost as, incredible as having this, worldwide following, to establish a cult following like that, where people are just so in love with the work that he does, and it's life affirming to them and life changing. And I think he really does that for a lot of people. I mean, I know Lewis loves him. I have lots of friends who really love Iggy Pop, and obviously he and David Bowie had a very full working relationship and friendship. They really respected each other. I mean, that says a lot. Bowie is obviously way, way up there, A-list, if you will, and he and Iggy, did a lot of collaborations.
Yeah, they wrote a lot of songs together, and what would later become David Bowie songs and even hits of David Bowie were originally Bowie pop compositions that Iggy recorded first.
That's right.
Talk about a cult following. Well, a lot of people are so into the Stooges, they're not that fond of Iggy's later work, which I think is even better myself. I love the Stooges, but Iggy's solo albums are just sensational.
Completely different, but it's really evolved.
Yeah. Brick by Brick, Zombie Birdhouse. Yeah, I mean, just amazing, brilliant stuff. And the Stooges have you talk about a cult following.
Yes.
They're reissuing again and again and again albums like Funhouse. And there's the every single outtake ever of Funhouse collection box sets for this is one album. The outtakes from one album selling for $200 or $300 of one album. And I've looked at some. It's here's a false start. It's they start off and stop the song 5 seconds in. To me, talk about cult. I mean, that sounds like a literal cult when you want to hear every single thing like that. Every single
thing, right.
But, I do understand being devoted to a band like the new reissue of Goat's Head Soup by the Rolling Stones does have some, alternate mixes and some, acoustic demo versions. And it is fascinating stuff if you're a real fan.
But that's different than false starts.
Yeah, false starts. Wow, did you hear that? How they said the wrong word and started again 5 seconds later? That was genius, man. I do think it's almost cultic.
It is,
on the Stooges part. But, I mean, I can't fault people for loving Iggy and the boys in solo because they're just that good. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, from, more of a cult following to, again, another legend, but this time out of the Motown family, what's going on, Marvin Gaye?
Oh, wow. Beautiful, stirring, wonderful song.
So beautiful.
And, oh my God. Yeah, Marvin Gaye. Well, we were talking about him before.
Yes.
He might come up again on the next Birds. I don't know.
Might he?
But on the last Birds, rather, because he's just an amazing songwriter and singer.
Yes.
And I don't know if I mentioned this, pardon me, audience, if I said this before, but I recently acquired in my Dead Friends record collection a sealed copy of a Marvin Gaye live album from the early 70s.
Gosh.
What's really interesting about it is the audience sounds like you'd expect to hear from Hanson or One Direction. It sounds like a bunch of teenies screaming their heads off, not an adult, mature audience of soul R&B that you expect. But Marvin Gaye was a genius, and that is certainly one of the greatest title cuts ever.
So stirring, so moving. It absolutely is gripping, and it takes me somewhere else. It really is stirring. So I'm really happy to see it on this list, and it would certainly be on my list.
And it was Cyndi Lauper that covered it, right? I believe Cyndi Lauper covered it.
She did.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Absolutely. And Purple Rain, Prince.
Okay. Where do we begin with this one?
Just sheer brilliance.
This is just absolute soul-stirring brilliance. This just stabs you in the heart.
It does, gut-wrenching,
and of
heartbreaking.
Course, we had the iconic Super Bowl performance in the rain with him and his unbelievable guitar solos.
Unbelievable.
And who was it that was once asked, I think it was Eric Clapton, was it, that was asked about...
I think so.
What's it like being the greatest guitar player in the world? And he said, I don't know, ask Prince. Because he was just so... humongously talented. It was just ridiculous how talented
songwriter,
he was.
dancer, guitar player. I mean,
that entire.
No, I can't add actor because
you
really
can't add
wasn't
actor.
Good.
And
God love him.
Purple Rain is kind of a novelty as a movie. I mean, it's incredible performances by him in the time.
Musical performances.
Yes.
Let me be specific.
Musically, it was great, but acting, well, and plot.
Can't have it all.
Plot and script, you can't have it all.
No.
But that soundtrack, of course, there's the soundtrack and there's the Prince version where it's all Prince songs, which I have now, and just everything on it is just amazing. And that is probably the crowning glory of it all, although it's so angsty and anguishy and so everything like that. You don't want a whole album of songs like that, but you don't get that from Prince. You get a lot of hard rocking, funk dance, just everything. Prince did everything. He was everything. I mean, as that a musician could be. So, yeah, that one certainly I would have picked had I a few moments to think.
Yeah, this one is one that when he passed away, everybody did. And of course, when Bruce and I wanted to pay homage to him, we did When Doves Cry, because I didn't want to do the same song everyone else was doing, although I would love to cover this song. I mean, I would not do it justice, because who could possibly, but Prince.
Well, Bruce could do some serious justice on the guitar for that one, you know.
I mean, I could rock it in my own way, but it would never be.
I didn't mean anything against you.
No, but it would
you said you couldn't, but I know.
No, it would never be anything close to anything, So I'm glad we did When Doves Cry, so they didn't have to. But it's such a beautiful, amazing song. Imagine John Lennon.
This is one of those ones where, I'm sorry, I love the music, don't care for the lyric, but it's a beautiful song. It really is. I mean, musically, it's great. I can listen to it. I'm not into the whole Lennon message thing. Once he went solo, I was not a huge fan. I like some of his solo stuff, but I definitely didn't collect him or anything like the Beatles. I think he did his best work by far with the Beatles. But Imagine, it's actually a good album, too. I had the album. It's quite good. In fact, I still have it on cassette. It's a great album, and it's a great song. I'll just leave it at that. It's a great song, yeah.
Yeah, this is one of those songs that obviously brings lots of people to their knees, and a lot of people agree with the ideology of this song, and I certainly get it. I think it's beautiful. I love the lyrics to this song. It's definitely very moving. The video is very moving. Everything about this song is very moving. So I get John Lennon after the Beatles. I totally get it. I loved him with the Beatles, but I loved him after these. He was a little radical for me, but I did appreciate the sentiment. I appreciated the desire for peace. I appreciated all of that. I mean, of course.
Oh, there's a lot of that I totally get. When you start with imagine no possessions, there's no way to imagine that. It's impossible.
Well, I think you can imagine it. I don't know that I could ever make it a reality. I mean, even if
not on Earth, no.
Right.
I mean,
But I think it's kind of beautiful. I love that he's making you go somewhere that you don't normally go. He's having you occupy a way of looking at things that you otherwise wouldn't. There's something really beautiful about that, and it does make me, anyway, take a step back and think, maybe I put too much value in this, or I think too much about this, or this is too high on my list of priorities. And I like it when music does that for me. I like it when it challenges my norms or challenges my way of thinking, and I feel like this song does, and I like that about it. And I'm not a huge Lennon vocal fan, but I do like his delivery on this song a lot.
Yeah, I do love John Lennon's vocals. He can scream raw rock like nobody's business, and this is one of his most beautiful, actually. I do love his vocal on this. The melody is just sublime.
It is.
Everything about it, the arrangement too is. Now, why do I want to say Alan White's playing on this? I don't know, but Alan White did play with him at some point.
I'm not sure if this is the song.
No,
but that would be
this
interesting.
Is probably too early for Alan White.
So
but I don't know. But then again, he was a session player. He wasn't in Yes yet. So
we need to have a whole session where we correct all our wrongs.
But we're just speculating, folks.
We're
just
speculating. Yeah.
Don't go around standing around the water cooler tomorrow saying, "Hey, did you know Alan White of Yes played on John Lennon?"
Please
we don't know that. Okay.
Go ahead and Google it and let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
And
we have no time to fact check.
We have no time to fact check. We're just moving at the speed of light here.
That's right.
All right. So the last song, and I do have some honorable mentions, is Heroes, David Bowie.
Oh, well.
Come on. Come on.
This is the ultimate less is more song. I mean, Heroes, it's just, it is even more one note than Kashmir, and it's just as iconic. It's one of those songs that just, you don't want it to change. It's so beautiful, and it gets in the groove, and it just keeps going, and the vocal intensifies. That's a great record. The whole album is great, Heroes.
It's so great.
It's so out there. It's just like, it's not like experimental noise, like you don't want to hear it. These are great tunes that you actually want to listen to and you remember. But Heroes is just a perfect title track from that. And I'm glad he made it the title track, and glad I actually saw him on that tour.
Jelly.
They called it the Isolar 2 tour or whatever the hell, but it was after the Heroes album was the latest album, as captured on the live album Stage, which you're definitely recommended to check out. But yeah, great song. And I had the pleasure of seeing not only him do that, But last year, I saw the Hollywood Vampires do that very song with Mr. Johnny Depp on lead vocals. So yeah, glad that is being presented to another generation. And I know there were people there who only went because Johnny Depp was there. It's like, I don't know anything about this band, Joe Perry, Alice Cooper, but I just came to see Johnny Depp. Well, you're going to hear some good music, and hopefully these little Johnny Depp fangirls are now listening to Bowie Heroes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I listened to Bowie Heroes before, but I would have probably gone for Johnny Depp, too.
Funny story that when Alice suggested Johnny sing the song, he's like, oh, I don't sing. And Alice is like, John, you did Sweeney Todd. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So he actually sings a couple of songs.
And that's a great movie.
Yes, he turned me on to that movie. And it was
a great movie. Dark, of course. But
dark,
very good.
Pretty damn dark. Yeah,
I like dark.
Midnight in Persia in a coal mine. Yeah, dark. Yeah, but entertaining nonetheless.
Yes, very, very good. So that's the list, but here are some honorable mentions that we don't have time to get to, but I have to mention them. Mm-hmm. Close to the Edge, yes.
Oh, yes.
Come on.
All 22 minutes of it, or whatever it is. Yeah, great stuff, yeah.
Green River, Creedence.
Oh, yes.
Let's Stay Together, Al Green.
Oh.
Come on. Wish You Were Here, Pink Floyd.
Nice, very good, very good.
Gotta have that. Back to Black, Amy Winehouse.
Nice.
And then, of course, last but not least, L.A. Woman, The Doors.
You know that's my song. That is my jam.
I know it is.
Oh, great ones, great ones. Are you going to tell us some of yours?
You know, I actually didn't make a list. I actually just thought, well, let's just keep it organic. Let's just have it be, maybe this will be an upcoming Bird Banter.
You know, we did something on Winging It, and then I thought we should do it on a Bird Banter when we've had time to think.
Yes.
Because as soon as you said title tracks, well, there are two album covers hanging as art now in both studios,
yes.
Both of which have title tracks, actually.
Correct.
Little Queen by Heart and Burn by Deep Purple. That was the first one that came to mind, is Burn. Interesting thing about title tracks, sometimes they don't even appear on the albums. The band uses them later on. Like Houses of the Holy.
Yes.
Led Zeppelin was an album after the album Houses of the Holy.
Yes.
Sheer Heart Attack by Queen. I thought that was something they dreamed up, like 4 albums later with News of the World, or is it 3? No, it actually, I think it dates back to the Sheer Heart Attack sessions. So sometimes that happens. A title track will appear later on. I mean, you said Back to Black, and come on, whatever you might think of AC/DC, Back in Black certainly belongs up there as a title track.
All right, so that may have been on one of the lists, and I was like, you know.
You chopped Black in Black.
But here's we just talked about AC/DC and how they're grossly overrated.
We did,
so if that would be on your list, that's something, but I took the best of the best.
Yeah, that song is not overrated.
You know, again, I believe it to be wildly overrated, but if it's on your list, I certainly understand.
Yeah, there are a lot of them. I mean, when you talk about deep stuff, like, I mean, the general public, you say Close to the Edge, and they have no idea what you're talking about. We know, of course.
We know,
we rockers know.
And if you don't know, then you need to check it out.
You need to check it out.
Yes.
I mean, there's Welcome to My Nightmare. There's so many.
There's so many. Well,
Diamond Dogs. I mean, there's more. Bowie's got a few of them. That possibly could be a Bird Banter coming up, because there's so much there we could get into.
We certainly could. These are just NPR, and the list was 100, so I narrowed it down to these from 100. So, and it was mostly not everything, obviously, that I would like, but things that I thought might be iconic or that might resonate with other people, and things that I thought we would know. But there, again, out of 100, there were so many. I went, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Right.
I just didn't have time to talk about all of it, because Winging It's 30 to 60 minutes.
That's right. And we're at 24, so we're about ready to pull the old plug here.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. So since we got through that and we talked about the greatest title tracks ever, again, just, about 15, 16 out of the 100 named by NPR. And we will talk about it in upcoming Bird Banter, but for now, I guess that only leaves for you to say,
let's fly this coop.
This has been Birds of a Feather on Fusion Music Radio.